Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode. This episode today is going to be about awakening. Awakening to your true self, your authentic self, your divine self. So I invited a guest on today that was going to talk to us about this. Now, the awakening process sounds so grand and glorious, but guess what? There's a lot to it that doesn't always seem so smooth, that it can be very, in fact, tumultuous, turbulent, emotional, unnerving. It could be where you have all these questions and no answers, and also you may not know where you need to turn to or where to go or where to find them. And often other people look at you as if you're going crazy or bonkers because you might start sensing things that others can't validate or confirm, such as hearing things, seeing things, feeling things. All this newness is bubbling up within you, as well as stuff you may not have looked at within your life. So, welcome to Creative Visions TV. I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and I'm super excited to welcome our guest to the show today because she has gone through and is still going through this process. After all, awakening is something we do forever in infinity because there's many levels that evolve us into other states of being, and this is a continual process. But we're talking about awakening today in the third dimension. Our guest today is from Vermont originally, and her family moved around. They lived in New Mexico for a while, they lived in Florida, and then she went back to Vermont after she suffered a really traumatic loss. At the age of just 19, her lover, her loved one, her friend, her support, her boyfriend, overdosed and died. Now, this left her just heartbroken, and her world fell down, crashed down upon her, as you can only imagine, at such a young age. So this took her on a journey to start looking within herself and finding more about life. She met her current husband shortly after that, and she lives with him now in North Carolina with her two beautiful daughters. Now, what seems like a perfect family, perfect picture, has shifted some. Quite a bit, actually, we could say that, as she started studying and reaching into the paranormal realm and spiritual realm. She's always had a lifelong interest in this, and this took her onto studies and journeys about it, exploring what this realm is all about, and it took her into the dimension of the unseen realms, where she started interacting and communicating with these beings. That took her back within herself. That unfolded all this stuff within her for her to find her own unique path to self-love and the authentic self. And so today she's a Reiki practitioner, a master and a certified teacher, and she's an intuitive spiritual channel of light activation codes and helps people find their own path back to reawaken to their authentic self. So you can see I'm super excited about having this guest on because I love talking about the unseen dimensions and how we navigate ourselves within it. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest, Katie Lawrence, to the show. Welcome, Katie.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Nervous, excited.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. Katie and I go back, I think, about a couple years now, maybe. You saw me on Gaia TV, I think it was the show. And
Right.
do you want to tell the guests about that? Because that's how you got started with the Ouija board, guys, the Ouija board.
I did. Well, I was with the rest of society fearing the board. Anytime I heard anyone talk about using it, I would, no, don't do that. That's evil. And then I watched a show that talked about fear and how we manifested ourselves. So then I thought about, well, if that's, the case, then I wonder about the board. Like, if I could have such an easy communication with the other side, let's see what I can find out. So I typed in Ouija board onto Gaia, and Karen was the only one that popped up.
Yep.
Watched those.
Go figure.
Exactly. So I watched those videos, and right after that, I ordered a board.
Amazing. And you guys, she progressed with it rather quickly. She was in touch with me right away, but
Yes.
you were telling me about your sessions, and I was amazed at how quickly you worked with that tool.
Yeah, it was. So we got it while I was on Christmas vacation at my sister's, and we messed around with it a little bit there and had some random spirits come in. A lot of just nonsense, like it didn't, just random letters. But the first time that my husband and I tried it when we got home, it just started up. And the entity that came through said that they were my husband's guardian, and that they had been together in other lives. And she was the only one that came through for, I think, about a month and a half, 2 months. And then of course I was like, well, what about me? I want to talk to somebody on my side. And so she said, well, you'll have your spirit guide coming through. She's coming. She's, I don't remember the excuse she gave, but one time we hopped on and she came through, but it wasn't always. It was mostly this other one. And then every once in a while, she called herself Helen, would come through. And that was only maybe a few weeks. And then I tried the board by myself, and it barely worked. But it was only a few days later, and I was using it one night talking to, some other random spirits, and I put the board away, and I still had that feeling in my hand.
Now, explain that feeling, because not everybody gets it. I know that feeling myself, but this is really cool, you guys, because this took her to another level with direct communication with the unseen dimensions. Explain that feeling.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's different for everybody, because I try to explain what I feel, and people are like, well, no, I only feel warmth. So, it could be tingling, warmth. Mine was more of like, it felt like somebody was holding my wrist.
Yeah.
And then, it just all depends, really. But it's just an energy feeling, I guess, is, I really don't understand it myself. But when I still felt that, like, very present. So something just told me, pick up a pen. So I did. It was my left hand. I picked up a pen and paper, and it just drew a little heart. And I was like, whoa. Because way before the board, I did try automatic writing, but nothing worked. So when this happened, I was just like, yes, and then, I asked, who is this? And it was just very short, saying that it was the same person I was just talking to on the board. And then it progressed, like, the rest of the night. Like, every time I put the pen and paper away, my hand would light up again. And even all through night, just light up. I went full force into it. Like, this is everything I've been searching for. I'm going to, like, anytime my hand lights up, I am writing all day, every day. But the thing is, at the beginning, it was saying that it was Bo.
Now, let's go back and explain who Bo is, because I did mention about her tragic loss of her lover, but tell us about Bo.
Yes. Well, he and I were together for 4 years, up through the last years of high school. It was an intense relationship. It was not perfect at all. Like,
he was like your first love, right?
I think on a different level.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I had a few other boyfriends that I like, puppy love type of stuff, that I was hurt over. But this one was like, there was just something about it, this connection, that no matter what, I just felt like, we were connected, in that we would always come back together. So yes, when he passed away, it was, he was having issues with drugs. So he finally went off to the Navy, and he was doing pretty well for a while. And then just when he came home, I think it was like the last night before he went back, he wanted to party it up, I guess, and overdid it. So
how tragic was that? I mean, that's crazy. And I know you talked about it, how it just really broke your world down, and it took some time to mend. And so for you to have this opportunity with the board and the writing, the automatic writing now, you wanted to make contact with him. Wasn't that kind of one of the reasons?
Yes, exactly. Because I had been to other mediums before, and I needed closure, basically. You know, like, I don't even know about what, really. But I just wanted to maybe know that he's there or something. Even though I believed in it, it was still, I just needed something. So I was never getting those answers from mediums. So yes, to get into it myself, that's, yeah.
And a lot of people do start with the board for those reasons. And a lot of people out there
Right.
listening, a lot of people do write to me and say, I want to be in touch with a deceased loved one. And I know that was Katie's, one of her main reasons to do this work, what started her, and then it just became something else. So what I want to ask you, Katie, about that, though, would you, this is what I'm hearing in my mind, that's what I'm hearing from inside of me, my internal knowing, is I'm hearing that Bo really helps you, propel you on this spiritual journey and this getting back to your true self, it sounds like.
Yes, I think that everything happens for a reason, even the not so great parts. And
Yeah.
I feel like that was going to happen no matter what. And that was what was to trigger my path, basically. So,
Wow, what love that soul had to help you in such profound ways. I believe, like you do too,
yeah.
things happen for reasons, and you know, you're able to go into these other realms. So okay, back to your story about you are automatic writing a lot, really following it. Did you make contact with Bo?
you know, so at the beginning I thought, it was saying that it was Bo, and it, that's why, like, I was sucked so in, because I, just
Yeah.
hearing the things I needed to hear and whatever else. And then all of the sudden, I had Helen, the one from the board, come through and say, "Oh, who else do you know in spirit that you would like to talk to?" So I just listed a few people, and then all of the sudden, that's like who was coming through when I was writing. And so that happened for a few days. And then Helen said to me, "By the way, I'm not your spirit guide. My name isn't Helen. I'm your higher self."
Now, let's
And
talk about this concept. On the board, you guys, you can actually talk to your higher self. This is what I did for 4 years, because you get, this is when you start going within yourself. This is where you start opening up to who you are. Let's just talk about this.
yeah.
Yeah, and it can be scary, you guys, because there's a lot of stuff in us that we don't want to look at sometimes.
Right. And see, I'm not even really sure on how all of that went. I feel like part of it was maybe a reflection. I mean, I guess that's what everything really is. But unless, it could be things from another life that were being reflected, because the group that I've been talking to, which, real quick, let me back up and say that I don't really think it was Bo. I think that they were doing that and making it seem like it was to trigger a release, because I never really fully grieved it. And there were a couple of days where it was like nonstop crying because of what was being said.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is what I think is important to share. After you started doing automatic writing, you started getting into downloads information. Do you want to share how that process happened for you? And I think when you were writing me around, she was telling me, I was learning all this as it was happening to her. And what I found really fascinating, I have to put this in here for everybody to understand, is that while she didn't fully understand what was going on, she allowed herself to trust, with a capital T, the not knowing. So
Right.
please talk about that, the downloads that you're receiving.
Yes. Well, I downloads as in how? Because it was all basically a bunch of whirlwind of nonsense, really. And I was hanging on to every word, even from the beginning at the board all the way through. I hung on every word because it was coming from the unseen realms. Like, why would they lie? They know everything. Every time I asked a question, they had the answer. So why wouldn't I trust that? Especially when it's saying it's my higher self, or, a spirit guide or something. And it was a while before I realized, like, not all of this is truthful. And
I want
so,
everybody to hear that, you guys. You can't, in the beginning, you can't trust the accuracy of the messages. And Katie's saying this and explaining this to you because you don't have that relationship built up, number one, with the tool or with the energies in which you're communicating. So,
right,
yeah.
right. And even so, I still take everything that is being said with a grain of salt. Like I filter a lot of things because even though even though it might be my true self or a spirit guide or whoever, they still test me just to make sure I'm following my own truth.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's been the biggest thing, I think, is, well, first of all, it got to the point where I started hearing them. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't write anymore, use the board, and I can just hear them. And I heard a few different voices. And after a while, I realized that it was like the energy was just coming over my whole body to the point where, like it is in automatic writing, you just let them write. It was then my whole body. Like if I just allowed them, they could, do yoga for me or cook dinner. And it's recipes I've never even thought of or heard of before, or, brush my teeth, whatever. They could just do it. And there were times where I cried because I was overwhelmed or frustrated, very frustrated with the whole process. But there was just something deep down that knew that this was to help me, or that it was going to be something great at the end. Like I just had to get through whatever this was, even with everyone thinking I was crazy. And
yeah, you really couldn't talk to a lot of people about this, could you? And if you did, you had to be careful what you said.
Exactly. I mean, I had a few friends that would listen. My siblings, I mean, people would listen, but after a while, it was becoming like I could just tell the tone of their voice or the response, like they didn't want to hear it anymore. And my husband, he was there through the board and the writing, but as soon as I started to hear the voices, he was like, "You're crazy." And I'm pretty sure the thought started to go through like, okay, who's going to keep the kids? Not her, if we, because this isn't going to work out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, everyone has come around though, because I just had to back off. I had to stop telling everyone everything. Mm-hmm. And stop trying to force it on them, because of course when it started happening to me, I'm like, this is so cool. You need to get a board. You need to start automatic writing. Do what I did. But that's
we could become too zealous with it, and then that pushes people away. And this is not everybody's path, you guys. Everybody who's watching this, we all have our own path, and by no means is Katie or I sitting here telling you to go get a board or do automatic writing or any of this. We're just showing you how one person awakens in her process to doing that might resonate with you, or maybe you're going through some of these things where you feel alone with what's happening with you internally and how you're having all these new sensations. So I think that's very well said, Katie, that you just learn to back away and let people have their own space with it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't force anyone, because there are many people here that are not here to awaken. They're helped to trigger somebody else's awakening. So all you're doing is frustrating yourself and complicating your own awakening if you're trying to force it on somebody else. So, the advice that I always get and give is just be you, be authentic to yourself, and do what you need to do, and your light will be a beacon for others. Like, you don't need to go and preach to people, or, of course, if that's your path, then, that's one thing. But just because you're going through it doesn't mean your whole circle needs to go through it.
Well said. And they may not want to, like you said, they may not have that itch to awaken the way you're awakening, or even awaken to that. A lot of people are very comfortable in the box in which they live, and that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Because it just wasn't meant to be this time around. Mm-hmm. They had another mission, basically. That's my thoughts on it.
So how are you working with this energy now? I mean, it's definitely changed you so profoundly in the last couple of years. Where are you with it? How are you working with it now? I mean, I know you do some things. She does some really cool stuff, you guys, on Facebook, and we'll give those links below later. But how are you working with this within yourself?
Uh, well, I'm still working on it daily within myself. I'm not where I want to be yet, but we do basically every night I have another experience, and they do a lot of releasing and healing from things that I'm not even aware of, and they don't tell me. You know, I'll start to feel something like cramps in my like sacral area, and I'll be hearing like this a story going on in my head, like that's what this is from, and now we're bringing it up and releasing it, and it will get very painful and then just be gone. And so we go through something like that just about every night, where something else is being released or helped or whatnot, which I didn't know that was happening at the way beginning. And I was just having like all these pains, and I thought it was just them doing it to be mean, or like, because they never told me anything. It was, I was hearing them, and they were commenting on everything in my life all of the time, but they were never telling me anything about my process. And that was probably the most frustrating thing. You know, it was always, you'll know when this is over, or you signed up for this, don't worry about it, just go with the flow, you know. So it took over a year to actually settle into going with the flow, because it's hard to not know what's going on with your life, not having control, basically, you know, because the whole endocrine system can be manipulated, and you know, they could come over me and like move me, and so, you know, it was like I was having nights where I would have cold sweats, or my feet would start cramping, or, you know, and I had no idea what it was. So, of course, I would just lay there yelling at them, and it didn't help anything. But at this point, that has settled down. It's not so frustrating and, you know, huge at this point. But we, you know, the experiences at night, and I started to take Reiki classes almost a year ago, I think it was, because I thought maybe this will help me learn how to manipulate energy, or, you know, just work with this somehow. And so once I started to go through that is when I actually realized that instead of just automatic writing, my whole body could be moved.
You became a channel. You became a vessel for which spirit to work. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So as much as, you know, I was going in and getting these Reiki classes, I was still letting them move my hands where they needed to be when practicing Reiki. So now, as much as I am a certified Reiki master teacher, it's not really Reiki that I use anymore. It's whatever they see fit for the person is what comes through. So there's that. And then
when you say they, how would you explain that group? How would you explain that to us?
See, that's one thing. I just started doing those live videos maybe 2 weeks ago. And what was holding me back was not knowing who they are. You know, I knew somebody was going to ask me, like, who are you channeling?
Right.
And I don't know. You know, all I know is they're familiar, and they are a group of extraterrestrials, and they're very powerful. That's really all I know. You know, I have been told since the beginning that the mastermind is what they call it, is my true self. But as well as in there, from what I'm coming to understand, is the twin flame. And they always have said, you and me together make your higher awareness, like the mastermind.
Very interesting.
So, yeah. So that's actually something that they keep talking about, is how, you know, people keep looking outside of themselves for their twin flame or their soulmate. And they are wanting people to stop doing that,
That's
because
awesome.
your soulmate isn't somebody outside of yourself. Your twin flame isn't somebody outside of yourself. We have to stop looking outside of ourselves to find our true love, because our true love, our true nature, our authentic self, or whatever is what we're searching for, home, is within. It's us. It's, there's nothing else that can satisfy our needs or fill our void, or whatever it is that everyone is always searching for. It's all within. So
well said.
yes.
So well said. I want everybody to hear that again. People write to me a lot and ask me, how do I find my twin flame? How do I find my soulmate? And
That's one of the main questions people ask me.
You nailed it. So say it again.
Yeah. So your soulmate and your twin flame were a label that came out years ago for a specific need at that time. And that time has now changed. And that was basically a false, whatever. But it's now time to go within and find what we're really here for, which is our true self, authentic self, your true love. It's only you. So no more searching outside of yourself. Everything is within, which is very hard, Anytime anyone ever said, go within, it's like, what does that even mean? Go
right? Sounds so nebulous and ethereal, right. And you want it to be concrete, and you want to go step 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Yep, exactly, which doesn't work that way.
Kind of goes like this, you guys. It spirals, and it goes all over the place,
yes.
But it always happens within. That's the key. It always happens within.
Right. And, there's so much that we're not aware of that we do from something that happened in another life.
That's right. That's right.
Like I always thought, like, I had this, I never really called it a fear, but I had this, I guess we'll just call it a fear for now, of losing loved ones. And I always thought that it just because of losing Bo. But they put me through an experience one night, like they triggered remembering another life where I was just standing there, like, I've lost everybody, my whole family, everyone is gone. And it's like I had kids, and I think it was like during prairie times.
Okay.
Or maybe, like the Indian stuff, Western times back then. And somehow, I don't know how they all died or anything, but it was like that feeling of loss was just so deep that it carried over to this one. And it's deeper than just losing somebody in this life. And that's how we are all programmed from all of our lives accumulate into this one that we're in now. You might have a bad habit because of something that happened in another life. And it's really figuring out how to work through all of that. It's a lot of self-reflection, self-evaluation of like, where does this come from? Pinpoint how far back do I remember doing this or feeling that, and asking your God within to help you resolve those issues so that you can move onward and upward.
Yeah, so true. And let's add another piece to this. How time and space is just something that we have here in the third dimension. Since there is no sense of time and space, it's more of a man-made construct or humankind-made construct. All these lives are happening right now. Let's throw that in there and try to wrap your mind around that. That's a tough one. So
yes, it is.
It's very tough. So it's better for us, since we're in this dimension, our brain, that all pieces of it that we're only using right now can understand it on that level. So it's hard for us to understand how other dimensions work and how the time travel happens and how time and space is just a man-made construct. It's a continuum, and you can exist within it anywhere at any time. Blows my mind. But I'll tell you this, Katie, when I was doing hypnosis and regression work with my clients, but also I did it for myself as well, we would go into future lives, what we would call past life, future life, in between lives, and see how they all sync up. And the beauty of doing this work she's talking about, whether it's through your own relaxing, remembering, through your own dreams, maybe working with a person who does hypnosis, you get an opportunity to really come to terms with many different aspects of yourself on many different levels, which is so helpful, so helpful.
Yes.
And it pulls you together, doesn't it? It pulls you together in your life. What I mean by that, it reassembles and reawakens and remembers all the parts of you, all the good parts of it that are positive, and the ones that are maybe more hurtful and painful. But yet it pulls you together more conclusively and whole in a holistic way, that life becomes that much sweeter and more beautiful, and there becomes more profound understanding of who you are within. When you start doing this
you
work.
recognize how everything intertwines and comes together to make the full picture, which I've been meaning to. One of these days I want to do one of those regressions, because it's like I do get pieces, through my experiences, but I would like to just get a story instead of just, a chunk here and there.
I highly recommend it. You have the ability to go into these altered states already, that I wouldn't be surprised if you could do it automatically within a dream, or working with somebody, you would have so much information come forward. It really does take an ability to be able to let go. And you doing all this work with the other dimensions allows, you're already allowing the trust and to let go. Now, I want to be clear, guys, she's not giving up her free will. She's not giving up her own personal choices. She's allowing the transformation to occur with her, which is a whole different thing. She's still Katie Lauren. She's still the person we know here. She's still her soul, but she's allowing these other energies, which we can call energies, beings, guides, etc., to work with her. And so it's still through her own freedom of her choice.
Right. Well, it will happen no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't have the choice to stop it, because I tried when I was going through, But yes, throughout the day, I can do things that they don't agree with, and they're not going to do anything about it. They do give me the nudge of like, hey, maybe you should wake up earlier, or go to bed earlier, or, don't eat that, or whatever they say, But nothing's going to happen if I don't listen. I might not progress as quickly. I don't know, though. Who knows?
I mean, you see them as teachers, right? They're teaching you, obviously, some things about finding yourself within.
Yes, and it has more to do with that, I think, and just really go with the flow and be patient. That is the one thing that they are constantly in balance. That's what's always being said and being present, of course. But
so again, let's say go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Be patient. That's the biggest one, is being patient. And you can think you're being patient while you're still searching online and trying to figure things out, but that is not being patient. It just be. That's what it is. Do your life the way you want to do it, and enjoy your experience. Stop judging yourself. And I'm coming to find that the belief is what is triggering this stuff. If you fully believe within, it's a core belief that you can eat whatever you want and still be connected, which, we already are, but connected to the higher vibrations or whatnot, then you will be. But if you are sitting there thinking like, I should be eating all of this heavy food, it's going to keep me at a lower vibration while you're still eating it, then yes, it will. But if you just don't believe any of that and keep eating whatever you want, then you're still going to be up here. It's all about belief. And that's something else.
That's a powerful thing to say about belief, because belief is how we even progress in these realms. It's like, do we believe that there possibilities are out there that you can even be in contact with these beings of a higher vibration? Or do you believe that it's just lower astral level beings? Belief, that's where your free will comes in, you guys. That's what I'm talking about. It's through your beliefs, perceptions, and filters.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know you talk about this stuff, Katie, when I've heard your shows.
Yes. Yep. Because that is one big thing that when they came in, other than they wanted to be true to myself. The other main thing was stripping away my beliefs. Because I've had deep belief systems in this life and as well as other lives that were holding me back from progressing in this life. Because, there's not really, I'm not even going to say, I was about to say there's not a truth for everybody, but I don't know that yet, so we won't say that. But we all have our own truth, and it's not necessarily somebody else's. And so when I started with this, hearing the voices and feeling all of these different things, I was searching high and low, listening to different channelers and reading different articles, and every single one of them, I'm like, ooh, this, ooh, that. And then it was none of those. And they were making me realize that's their belief, that's their truth, that's not yours. And through all of this, I've also realized that even channelers who are channeling different entities, if they have a core belief of something, then whoever they're channeling is filtering through that belief, and they'll talk about it like it's the truth.
Right.
So I had to realize that, and it's basically if you listen to a channeler, or you go even those quantum healing hypnosis things, a lot of people go in there with a firm belief of something. And so even whoever it comes through and is talking in those will do the same thing. And it's spreading that belief, but it's not necessarily the truth. So their whole thing is go through every experience, read things, look at things, watch things. If you resonate, you do. If you don't, you don't. Don't judge it, because it could be for them for a specific reason. But that's just life is just experience. Go with the flow. Integrate the light and the dark, because there is no good versus evil. Everything is a reflection of yourself. And find your own truths by stripping away your beliefs. Wow. Of course, you have your belief of, I believe in myself. I believe in a higher power, or like my true self, but when you start putting on different, I don't even know what we would call it, different labels.
I think that's a good way of calling it. Labels hold us back. You're right. Yeah, labels.
Right, exactly. Yep, exactly. Just like twin flame, it's still basically a twin flame, but it's the twin flame of it being a partner in the life that it's misconstruing everything. You can, because we're all coming in from our soul tribes, we all have contracts, and things could be preordained, but it's not somebody who will complete you, because you can only complete yourself. So
I think it's well said. Finding the one is finding yourself, is finding the divine within. That is, you are the twin flame. You for yourself alone. I think it's very well said. I think it's an important point here. People really need to hear, and we need to be reminded of it. When we start searching out there, that somebody out there is going to fix it for us, or this thing over here is going to make us better. The truth is, things will help us, right? Things help. Right. But it's truly going back into here and filtering through it all. And I'm hearing you say that. I think what I hear, also your story of this process of you shifting and reflecting on yourself and recollecting yourself and remembering and reawakening, is really about that shift from out here so much to back within here.
Right. Yes, exactly. Realizing that everything is a reflection. Everybody, if you're getting annoyed at somebody for something, it's because that you're just not at peace with something in your life. So you're getting aggravated because of your own thing. You can get to a point where you can go about life and talk to people who have triggered you in the past, and be able to talk to them and not be bothered at all. That takes a lot of work, but it is possible, because I've finally reached that where, I could talk to people in my life and not be fazed.
That's great. So, it's tough, you guys. I know you guys out there know it's tough. It's tough for me too, and I have to remind myself of these principles.
Yes, right, and that's what it is. It's a constant reminding to yourself, and practice, and not judging yourself if you relapse on that. Because that will just bring you right back down even further. Be patient with yourself. Don't judge yourself. And just constantly remind yourself to be at peace. Be at peace. And it works. You can do
That's
it.
lovely. Very well said. If you could say something now to the audience as a recap, a summary of the most important things to be aware of, or to attest to, or to trust while you're going through this shifting and transformative process that we're talking about, the awakening, what is it you would like to share with the audience that might help them as these kind of things happen to them?
Okay, so, well, right now I'm hearing to cherish each moment like it is the best moment of your life. You can't really, it's just go through your life and experience things for what they are, the good and the bad, and realize that even the bad things are propelling you. They're helping you to get to where you want to be, which is to your true self. And I hear a lot of people say, like, I just want to go home. Earth isn't my planet and all of that, when it's like, home is literally where the heart is, like people say. Right. It is inside. And so you just need to somehow find your true self, go home within. And that just means you have some work to do. I mean, like we all do, really. But yes, what I have said is just go with the flow. Don't resist things, don't, just realizing that everything is a reflection. Don't fear things, because, fear, we first came here with fear with us so that we could survive and not be eaten and, whatever else we had to go through. Right. But now we don't need that. So even if you have like a silly fear of, snakes or something, it's your subconscious, like, I'm going to die. And it, you're scared, you're fear, like, and that keeps you back, so there's I don't think, of course, that there is any dark forces coming after anybody.
I concur. I agree with you. I talk about this all the time on the show. I absolutely agree with you on that.
Yes. It's something within yourself, the fear, and, your higher self is projecting everything in your life. So if some boogeyman comes into your room at night, it is to make you aware of something that you need to change within yourself. It's not just some random boogeyman coming in to do harm to you for no reason. They're not trying to, there's no battle between the light and dark outside of ourselves. It's only within.
That's key.
And yes, exactly. And it's like so many people, especially in this community, say, we're all one, we're all one, we're all one. But then they turn and say, that they're being attacked by the dark or something, when it's like, how can we all be one, but still something outside of us is affecting us? So that's really what we need to drill into our heads, is that you're it. You
are it.
It's you. It's like, that's it, so, which it's very hard to comprehend. It is. I get it. Just like the whole time, there no, being no time. I still, like, I go down rabbit holes, like, how can there be no time, yet we're constantly expanding? I don't get that. But
yeah, sometimes I think I live in a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because I'm constantly in this thought process of these type of things, and I know you are too. And I want to say that's also part, when you start shifting and transforming, you find your mind thinking about such thoughts as we're talking about here today, that take you way out there in the woo-woo zone, the fringe, what many people call it. But to me, that's just the beginning of many more possibilities that exist way out there. So something else really cool you've been doing is this activation code, the symbolism that's coming through your beings that you're working with. You want to tell us about that? And I believe you have something to show us too.
Yes. Well, the one I have is one of the originals. So they don't look like this anymore because it's always progressing. So they come on like I think that's 2x2, right? A 2x2
Yeah, that's 2x2.
I'm not even sure if I'm holding it the right way of how it was. This is a while ago. But they tap into you, and whatever you might need at that time, there are symbols to help. We're calling it an energetic signature stamp. So they'll choose a few colors for whatever you might need, and then each color will represent, each color and symbol will represent something in your life that will either trigger a release of some kind or help you with abundance or, take care of or help resolve things with fear, whatever it is that you might need. We channel that, and then they'll also tell you where to keep it. Some it's next to your bed, or some in your purse or your wallet, or wherever they see fit for it to help you the most. So
I really like that. And you guys, it's also evolved, and right now you're seeing on this screen how this has evolved to what it's become. It's more symbols now.
Right, yes. It's only symbols. And I'm not even sure. I've tried looking it up to see which to give me some answers, but I can't really find any. So I'm not sure yet. But
she's trusting.
Right, exactly. Yep. And then, I also just recently, I have been channeling the light language.
That's right.
And I've only really done it by myself, but they just had me start doing it for people. So, because sometimes it's singing and I don't sing.
I love it. They're pushing you outside of your comfort zone and comfort level to become more of who you are. That's beautiful. So right. You guys, later in the show, you're going to hear us talk about where you can find her, and you can find her in the stuff she does too with the light activation as well as these signature stamps. Beautiful.
Right. Yep. Yes, ago. So,
and this is her first interview, you guys.
Please, thank you, Karen.
And I wanted to have her on because I so appreciate people writing to me and talking to me. We have these great conversations about this process because we're all going through it. Like I said, it's unending and it's a beautiful process. But hearing somebody tell it from their perspective, and I just love it. So I thank Katie so much for being on here today to do this. So Katie, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and learn more about what you do, and also maybe have questions for you?
I have a Facebook business page, which I do actually I have a sister page that people can join to ask questions and interact with each other and even do their own live videos and stuff on.
Fantastic. Because links are below for these.
Yes. Yep.
And I know you're building a website too?
Yes, I am in the process of having somebody help me with that. I'm not really into computers, so it'll be soon.
And links will be below for that as soon as it's released. I know this is new for Katie to come out in the public with this. I'm super thrilled. This is her first interview, and I got her. Yay. And you guys get to hear her first when she's coming out because, this is a process. And to have the courage to come out and talk about, when things seem a little bonkers, it really requires a lot. So I appreciate that, Katie, that you came to speak with us.
Thank you so much. Yes. And maybe one day when it becomes more, we do it again.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for being on my show, talking to the listeners here, and any final thoughts you'd like to share.
Really, just find the peace within, go with the flow, and balance. Balance is key. And enjoy your life. Enjoy your experience. Stop worrying so much about your awakening process because it is happening whether you're aware of it or not. And it will happen. So just enjoy your life around you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen.
You're very welcome, Katie. So there you have it, everybody. This is a person who's out there really exploring her possibilities to life and the universe. But guess what? She went within to do that. And whether she wanted to go within or not, the process will eventually take you there. So she did not fight it. She just went with the flow, as she mentioned. She trusts the process. She's still in the process. We all are. But she's here to say that things can evolve and come out and blossom because you went within. And after all, that is where the one true love, that is yourself, the divine, authentic self resides. Now get out there and go explore your inner world and come back and tell us all about your divine self. Until later, this is Creative Visions TV, and I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.